Hey everyone, and welcome back to Body Less Live, the podcast. Now, if you are watching on YouTube, definitely want to welcome you to the Body Less experience. Now, for those of you who have been listening on the streaming platform, what I'm doing new is, and I know I said I was doing this in the beginning of the process, but I kind of veered away from it. But what I'm doing new is I'll be doing it for both YouTube and for the streaming platform. So you can still find me on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify, on SoundCloud. But now, if you like to watch, if you're more of a visual person, you can also see the podcast on YouTube. So definitely go ahead over to Chats with Nicole on YouTube. And I also put it in the description for my streaming platforms. And let's get into it. Now, on today's episode, we are speaking about cheating in relationships. And is that enough to end a relationship, or is that more than enough for you to say, you know what, it's time to pack your bags and go, sir. It's time for you to leave, ma'am. Like, what's your take on it? Now, where this all stems from, you know it comes from somewhere, y'all, right? Is I was on TikTok scrolling my happy ass through in my timeline on my For You page for TikTok, right? And I saw a series of videos, and these are videos I have seen over my year on being TikTok, periodically, because everything is recycled, everything is going to come back around. And it was about how like baby boomers would have their main family on one side of town and then have their secondary family on the other side of town and be taking care of both families at the same time. And that was something that was accepted amongst the women, because this was typically men, of course, that had the two families, right? And this was something that was accepted amongst women during that time period, like their wives, which I guess was the main family, and I guess by title, who knows, right? Didn't really trip too much about it. At least they didn't trip enough for them to say, you know what, I'm about to put them papers in. We're going to go ahead and get this divorce going. And that's that. Now, I don't feel like in today's society, too many men have this multiple family thing. Now, don't get me wrong. I know a man is going to have multiple baby mothers. Like that, I'm not talking about. I mean, where there is two families literally that he is financially taking care of, that he is devoting some level of time to. I don't really feel like that's going on in 2022. And that probably stopped decades ago, right? But it does bring, up the thought or the question of infidelity. And what is the limits on that? Now, truth be told, limits always boil down to everyone's situation, individually. Okay? Just because what's good for couple A is not good for couple B, that does not mean that couple A is wrong, couple B is right, right? It just simply means that the dynamic of your relationship is dependent upon the people in that relationship. Because relationships are hard enough as it is. In the sense of it's always two different people, or if you're into polyamory or polygamy, multiple people, right? Who come from various different backgrounds, who have a different upbringing, who have different experiences trying to make one situation work. So that in itself is, something that is going to always distinguish people in general and then different types of relationships. So you have to know how your relationship is defined. And definitely if it's a polyamorous relationship, infidelity may be viewed differently, although maybe there's agreement between only those subset of multiple partners and not outside partners. I don't really know how it works. Never really been into that lifestyle. But if it does, then, everyone who has some form of defined relationship can kind of relate to this. And I said all of that to say this, right? The boundaries that are set for your relationship, you do not have to follow like the societal norms of what a relationship should be. Or relationships should be. I'm tongue-tied out here, people. But you get what I'm saying, right? Because everyone's situation is going to be different. And what you can put up with is going to be different. So when we start talking about cheating and, stepping outside of the confines of a relationship, that's what we really have to look at. What can you or can't you deal with? Because here's the fact of the matter. Cheating may not be the worst thing in the world to everybody. Matter of fact, infidelity is not even the number one reason for divorce. Typically, it's finances. Something that's related to like the finance situation of either both partners, one partner, or, however that goes. So you really have to decide what is convenient and what is going to work for you and your partner. Now, I say all of that because I feel like social media and sometimes outside influences and familiar influences and things of that nature will dictate your decision making when it comes to various things in your relationship. And I'm not saying that's 100% wrong, but at the end of the day, none of those outside elements is actually living in your household with you, or however, you know, your stuff is set up, like your business is set up. So guys, we know this channel, this podcast, whatever you're using to hear this message and view this message is about growth and development. It's about growing personally within yourself and within your relationships, right? And a big thing that we have to realize just in general, in the overall scope, is what do we like? What do we want? And then when you're talking about a relationship, what do you want with your partner? What is a happy medium? What is a happy place for you guys to be in? Not what your parents say, not what your friends say, not what the next up and coming dating coach on TikTok says, but what do you say? What is substantial? What is not substantial? What is the things that you want for your relationship to work? Now, I want to say before I even continue that I do not condone infidelity, especially if it's something that you guys said, nah, like this is not something that we do. That's an agreed upon thing, right? I don't condone it because I do view it as disloyal. I have not ever cheated in any of my relationships for various reasons, but one of the reasons is I don't want to ever step outside of those bounds of character. And I do feel like it's a character thing. I've definitely been cheated on, but I didn't leave in those situations. And of course, now at this point in my life, I probably would. But then again, because I'm not married, I don't know. And I haven't been cheated on at this juncture in my life. So I don't know, because let's look at things that could potentially be worse than infidelity, right? We have domestic abuse. We have, and that can be physically, that can be emotionally, that can be mentally. Now, someone can cheat on you, right? And of course, it steps outside of what you expected in your monogamous relationship, your marriage, whatever the case is. But they can treat you like gold in every other way. They can be great communicators. They can be providers. And providers mean in various ways, financially, emotionally, mentally, the whole nine, right? They can be peaceful. They can add to your happiness, but I don't like to call it a mistake, but I can't think of a better word for it in this moment. But they made that misjudgment, right? And went ahead and betrayed that particular part of the relationship. Is this enough for you to go? Because let me tell you something. It's not a lot out here in the dating field. And I'm saying this from me being a life coach and having clients who are dating actively and just listening to their stories, or having clients who are in newer relationships or whatever, the case is, friends and, loved ones having conversations, my own personal experience or past experiences, right? I'm saying this, I'm accumulating all of this information. It's not that great, y'all. Okay. It's not that many options out here. So if everything that's going on in the relationship is going well, is infidelity enough for you to say, you know what, I gotta go? And then again, we can look at it from the position of they're not doing anything right, your partner, or it's a lot of mishaps, it's a lot of missteps, and then they add infidelity to it. Like, now in that case, I'm gonna tell you 100% flat out, couldn't be me, and I will hope it's not you either. Right? And even if they are doing everything great, if that is your thing, that you just against not being monogamous, then that's on you. But I do want us to look at all these various factors when making decisions, because everything comes down to making decisions. Another thing that I saw, or making decisions that are good for you and that will benefit you long term. Another thing that I saw, was today or was it yesterday, and I put in my stories on IG, and it was signs who basically pretend that they are very devastated by something, but in all actuality, they don't care. They're just making the other partner feel bad. And Scorpios, which is what I am, was one of the signs, and I reposted it like, what, y'all need to mind y'all business. Because if I'm going to be completely honest, way many years ago, over a decade now, I was cheated on by the person I was in a relationship with, and I didn't really care. But because I didn't want to happen again, now of course I was like 19, 20, okay, different person, but I put on a show. I'm talking about waterworks and everything, y'all. I'm talking about sobbing. I'm talking about, how could you do this to me? All of that. And I did not care, because in my mind, then ego too has something to do with it. This person can't replace me. So I really don't care who you lay up with. And I think also it has to do with upbringing. My family is Jamaican, and I don't know how much you know about Jamaicans, but Jamaican men are not monogamous, okay? So that could have something to do with how I think about, infidelity as well. But you're not put on a show. Now, when your partner cheats on you, not saying you should be mad, because you should be mad. Not saying that you should be hurt, or you shouldn't be hurt, because you should be hurt, because they shouldn't step outside again those boundaries that you have set for the relationship. But when they cheat, are you really hurt? This is what you got to ask yourself. Or are you putting on a show? Is it theatrics? If it's not really something that bothers you, why turn it into something that does? For real. If it's not really something that is a deal breaker, that again steps outside your boundaries, you're going to hear me speak about boundaries a lot, because I'm very big on them and you should honor them. But you also have to be true to boundaries in the sense that you have to be real to yourself and not overdo it. You feel me? Like, not just do too much or give too much or try to be extra, right? So again, if you ain't mad about it, why are you mad about it? Why are we playing these games, sis? Why are we playing this game, sir? Like, you feel what I'm saying? Like, have a conversation with your partner and see. Now, let me play devil's advocate, because I'm going to always play devil's advocate. People only do what you allow. Now we tethering on this fine line, because I remember some years ago, I believe it came from I know it was the Braxtons that we're talking about this, the Braxton sisters, right? And I believe it was on the reality show. So this could have been like 5-6 years ago. It was some time ago. And I don't remember which sisters it was. It might have been Tony and Tamar Braxton. I don't remember, but they were speaking about, something their mom told them. Y'all seen it. Y'all probably seen it. And how they not asking their husbands or their man any question about infidelity, because once you know, then now basically you a clown. And I agree with that 100%. In the terms of once you know, then, and you accept it, not that you're a clown, but kind of are, right? But once you know, you accept it, that's how they'll treat you, rather. Not that you are, but that's how they'll treat you, because they have seen that they can get away with murder at this point. They have seen that you have been accepting of it. Now, again, if this is not something that bothers you, you got to take it how it goes. But if it is, this is where it gets tricky. Because if you probe, or if you just found out on your own, but just because your person is sloppy or whatever happens, and your person knows, your partner, husband, wife, spouse, they know that you know what they've been up to, what's been going on behind closed doors, behind the scenes, right? And you don't leave. That almost gives them that self-authority that they can do it again, because you knew, you got mad, you had an argument, they had to be at the house for a month or two, and then boom, they're back in your good graces. And don't let it be multiple times, y'all. Don't let you had overlooked or forgave for numerous amount of times. Oh, now you just puppy showing. What puppy show is Jamaican words for basically a court gesture. Yeah. Like, they're not taking you serious at this point. I'm going to be real, and I'm going to tell you my policy on infidelity. Okay? Very much like the military back in the 70s and the 80s, and I think even the 90s. Don't ask. Don't tell. I'm just going to keep it real with you. Okay? At this point in my life, now, if you caught me 10 years ago, I'm going to go through a phone. I'm going to see what you're doing. I'm going to be upset about it. I'm going to cry about it, because there has been instances of, cheating that did hurt my feelings. Very few, but did hurt my feelings or whatever, and did cause me to get into a place of just being down and sad and out and heartbroken and so on and so forth. But to me now, probably for the past 10 years or so, I'm not asking no questions. I'm not looking for it. I'm not digging for it. Especially if there are no signs of it. Now, if there's signs of my partner stepping outside of what we agreed upon, stepping outside of our relationship and not being monogamous, if there's those signs, then yeah, that's a little bit different. Okay, maybe I'm going to ask a few questions. I'm not going to go looking through their personal stuff. Again, stop that almost a decade ago. But I'm going to ask some questions. I'm a probe. I'm going to ask a couple of times, especially if I feel like I'm being lied to. and that's a whole different story, maybe even a whole different podcast. But if there are no signs of infidelity, what am I looking for? What am I asking questions for? I am strictly on a don't ask, don't tell. Like, I have to be or feel a high level of disrespect for me to even step into those waters. Because I understand once I step into those waters, y'all, you can't swim. There's no swimming once you step into those waters, okay? Or you're going to have to learn how to swim in those waters. I don't care how many years of training you have. Because as I said, once you know and you don't act upon this knowledge and remove yourself, because that's the only solution. I promise you that. That's the only surefire. Because there's some people who are going to be infidel, be an infidel, cheat and all that type of stuff. And they find out their repercussions and they don't do it again. Okay, absolutely. But I would say for the majority, and this is just based on my level of expertise, and it just goes into human nature, to be real, the majority is going to feel like maybe, possibly in a year or so, they can do it again. They can step outside those bounds, right? So, again, that's why I said it's hard to swim in these waters. Because the only way that you're going to get back afloat is that you have to make a concrete decision. And the only way to guarantee it will never happen again is that you're going to have to leave that situation. And so that's why it goes back for me anyway to the don't ask, don't tell. Now, if I know, that's it. Lights out. It's over for you. But if I don't, I'm going about my happy existence. I really am. Now, so much more goes into this, y'all, because we got to worry about things like STDs, like, is my partner going to bring something home to me? But then, and I'm not going to get too deep into this because this may be another podcast, another YouTube video, right? That goes into the type of people that you are choosing. And that's why you date, and that's why you're in a relationship, and that's why you're engaged before you get married, or that's why you date before you get into a relationship, or that, you know what I'm saying? That's why there's a period of learning someone before you decide to commit to that person so that you can judge their character. Because have you engaged with someone? Have you invited someone into your life who would do that? Who would risk their own health? Forget yours, right? Forget yours, because really self-preservation is the first law of nature, but will risk their own health for a little pleasure. Are you with someone like that? And that's when you have to go into making sure that you are actually picking suitable partners to be with, to spend time with, whether it be a short time or a long time. Right? So, I mean, this message has so much wrapped around it, so much that went into it. But end of the day, guys, what I'm saying now, everyone has to do what's best for them. One is that you have to have distinguished boundaries in your relationship. For yourself, of course, because again, you know I'm big on boundaries. I will say that from now until the end of time. But also for the relationship, what you expect from your partner, and it needs to be something that's agreed upon. Because if it's not agreed upon between the two of you, that's a problem. That means that you lack compatibility. And you know how I feel when you lack compatibility. It's not worth it. Right? So you have to have that set in place. You have to know what is best for you guys as a unit. You have to not put on a show just for the purpose of saying that I'm going to be mad because I want you to feel hurt because I'm hurt. No, if you're hurt, you express your hurt, you communicate that, and you let them know the expectation, or you let them know what's going to happen next steps, right? And then you have to determine that if you do find out, or if it is going on, if it's brought to you or you're searching for it. And again, I do not recommend searching, going and looking for it, especially if your partners is not showing signs, because sometimes you may find something, even if it's not infidelity, that you don't want to see. Because, very small tidbit before I finish up this message. We often forget that people were humans outside of us when we join into any form of union with them, whether that be best friends, whether that be relationships, or whatever, whatever the dynamic is. And sometimes they may have things going on that's not necessarily personal to us or necessarily meant to be attack on us, but it's not necessarily something that we want to know either. So when you go snooping around for one thing, sometimes you may run into a whole other thing that you weren't even expecting. So you didn't find the infidelity, but you found something, not necessarily something that will is terrible, but something that makes you feel a way. Not necessarily something that's unhealthy, but something that maybe you didn't want to see or you didn't want to hear. So, keep that in mind before you go snooping. But in any case, y'all, the premise of all of this, or the purpose of me even having this conversation, long story short, is do what's best for you in your situation. Do not follow what anyone else or anything else says or does. Because cheating may not be the worst thing. Because like I said, the main cause of divorce, I believe, based on the last time I looked at statistics, was financial reasons. Okay? If you are new to the podcast or to YouTube, one thing you need to know about me is that I want everyone with good intentions to win. And just because someone may step outside the relationship doesn't mean that they're not a good person and don't have a good intention. That means that they did not make a good decision. Okay? And we definitely need to take a look into that. I fully support anyone deciding to leave a situation for someone that's cheating, especially if they're a serial cheater. Like, I highly recommend that. But then I also highly recommend seeing what's best for you, because at the end of the day, that's what matters. That's what is going to be suitable for our mental health and emotional development, right? Is to make sure that the decisions that you are making is going to benefit the good of you and the good of your partnership, especially if you're married or you're in a marriage in the long run, right? So that's my 2 cents on the situation. I can't tell y'all how to do or what to do or how to live, but I can just, give a little piece of what I know, my expertise, to help guide you guys along the way. But anyways, guys, this comes to the end of the message. I really enjoyed actually recording this. I don't know if it's because I'm recording it with the camera, or I just like the topic, because I feel like it's something that most people can relate to. I feel like a lot of people have been cheated on or have cheated in their lifetime, and they kind of get where this is going. But I really just want you guys to understand that although I'm talking about couples and a unit thing, it comes down to you. What's best for you? What do you need to be the best you in that situation, right? In any case, guys, ladies and gents, boys and girls, definitely shouldn't be boys and girls. So if you really a child, you should not be on my channel or listening to the podcast, because these are adult conversations. But that comes to the end of the topic today. Definitely want to know your thoughts. Go ahead and leave it in the comments. If you are on a forum that can do so, let me know what you're feeling, what you're thinking. If you agree, disagree, I'm here for all of it. Let me know. I'm taking all the smoke, okay? Because I know I'm going to have people that strongly disagree with my stance on don't ask, don't tell. But like I said, y'all got to do y'all. I'm just telling you how I feel, how I see it, you know what I mean? But if you are not subscribed, please go ahead and subscribe. If you are not following on the streaming platforms, please go ahead and do so you can keep up with me, so we can get more out, so we can build and we can grow. But until next time, y'all, be safe and stay blessed.